War Baby here with a quick word about a show and a movement that's close to my heart. The Voices for Justice podcast points a spotlight at the case of missing teen Alyssa Turney, who disappeared from right here in Phoenix in 2001. Join her sister Sarah Turney as she propels herself down the rabbit hole in order to figure out what her father, Michael Turney, has to do with her sister's disappearance. Tune in to hear Sarah chronicle her interactions with the Phoenix Police Department, phone calls with Michael, memories about their childhood, along with newly unearthed revelations sure to blow your mind. Find Voices for Justice wherever you get your podcasts. We will find justice for Alyssa.
My missing persons case is 17-year-old Alyssa Marie Turney.
Alyssa Turney.
Alyssa Turney.
Alyssa Turney.
On this episode, we're going to tackle a mystery out of Phoenix, Arizona, with a lot of disturbing twists and turns. 17-year-old Alyssa Turney vanished.
Alyssa Turney.
Alyssa Turney.
Alyssa Marie Turney.
Disappearance of Alyssa Turney.
And today's a really exciting episode because we are talking about the case of Alyssa Turney.
Okay, so today we are doing Alyssa Turney.
Alyssa Turney.
Alyssa Turney.
Alyssa Marie Turney was a 17-year-old from Phoenix, Arizona.
And someone reached out to me there and said, would you please cover the story of my missing sister? And ever since, I have essentially been in contact, I think, daily with Sarah. Her name is Sarah Turney, and her sister is Alyssa.
But do the clues to Alyssa's disappearance point much closer to home? Michael watching his own children through a video camera.
Alyssa had told them very graphic things, very disturbing things.
Secret home movies, a warehouse packed with evidence, and a cold case that turns hot.
Again, there's only two people that can confirm whether I did or didn't. One is me, and the other is Alyssa.
A family torn apart.
My name is Sarah Turney, and you might have heard of my sister Alyssa's story before.
Be there at the deathbed, Sarah, and I'll give you all the honest answers you want to hear.
Why don't you give them to me now?
Because you got them now.
But I promise that you've never heard it like this. On Voices for Justice, I'm going to dive deep into Alyssa's case like never before.
Dad! Dad's a pervert!
I'm going to interview people you've never heard from, and I'm going to expose more about the police, my family, and myself than ever before.
I'm not asking you to move forward on it. I'm asking you to acknowledge that he wasn't briefed on the case, which you're not going to do, and I understand, but he wasn't. He said that he was aware that there were no sexual allegations, which is completely crazy to me because there's over 25 people in your documents that allege this. So when he says that, I don't know what he's talking about.
I've held back a lot for a long time, and I'm ready to release it on my own terms. The police told me that my best chance is media exposure, and I've been working for years to amplify my voice through others. But now, I'm ready to make some noise. Subscribe to Voices for Justice today on iTunes and most podcast players.
Allegations, as you say, were people saying that Alyssa said something had happened. He tried something, but there weren't any specific acts.
Alyssa had told them very graphic things, very disturbing things.
So that may have been what Sergeant Corus was referring to. There were no specific acts that anybody was aware of.
Okay, whatever you'd like to say. I'm not going to go round and round. It's all email is public record, and I'm happy with that.
Just so you know, this show is about scary stuff. So don't say I didn't warn you guys. And remember, don't be scared.
Episode 48, Private School. War Baby here with another episode of Murderous Minors. As parents of school-aged children everywhere prepare for winter break and having a temporarily full house again, it's important we remember that school is a dangerous place. In all honesty, any location where individuals congregate is dangerous. Humans are volatile creatures, capable of the most thoughtless and heinous of actions. Our little darlings are no different from the big ones. On this episode of Murderous Minors, we roll into the Christmas break with cases that revolve around school, because luckily, there isn't an abundance of holiday cases involving homicidal juveniles. But don't worry, you'll get some. What we haven't covered in abundance on this show is school violence, although it has been touched upon, so we'll use these weeks to look at several shocking cases of campus-based homicides over the years to find out just what happened and why. War Baby is Santa for your true crime-loving ears this month, so stay jolly, and remember, you can be naughty as long as you're nice too. Can you imagine arriving at school to pick up your child and being unable to find them? That's the horror that the parents of 17-year-old University Christian High School student Makia Coney faced back on February 10, 2010. Upon arriving at their daughter's high school, they could only find Makia's sister Beatrice. Considering that the family lived across town, they were fairly certain that she hadn't caught a ride home with friends or took off to hang out like teenagers are known to do. Her parents had even enrolled her in an after-school program so that she could continue to be supervised and safe until they could arrive to take them home. University Christian School in Jacksonville, Florida is considered an upstanding alternative to public school and is technically part of the University Christian Baptist Church. The girls' parents felt as though faith-based education would provide a safer environment as compared to the girls toughing it out at a public school in town. Active in church and at school, Makia was an avid dancer and popular among her peers. Although her parents governed their flock with a firm hand, Makia did date lightly, including a 17-year-old classmate named Charles Roy Southern, a football player with a big truck. Charles, like his friend and teammate 16-year-old Connor Pridgen, had military aspirations, with Connor dreaming of joining the Marine Corps as a marksman. Charles had endured a difficult and traumatizing childhood. His mother worked hard to provide for him and did her best to spend quality time with him on the weekends. But at the tender age of 11, his world was shattered when his mother died unexpectedly. By his own admission, he was a different kid after that, saying, quote,
I kind of changed my whole demeanor after that. Looking back on it now, I kind of bottled myself up and stayed distant. There would really show no affection, and that really bothered my grandma. That's why she had me go see a counselor, try to talk it out, and do that.
Following his mother's death, Charles bounced from one family member's home to another for the rest of his childhood, finding himself in trouble both at school and out on the streets as he got older. When 14 and living in Missouri, he says he stole his grandmother's gun and got caught trying to sell it at school. The court there said he could either go into juvenile detention until his 18th birthday or go live with his grandfather in Wisconsin, which he did. But he got in trouble there too, and 2 years later, in 2008, they moved to Florida. When they arrived, his grandfather unexpectedly dropped him off to live with his great-uncle without telling him beforehand.
They showed me love, and they brought me into their house. They accepted me, but I feel like I just popped up in their life, like unexpected. Cause my grandpa, cause I didn't know I was coming down here to live with him. My grandpa just dropped me off down here. He couldn't, cause I was messing up in Wisconsin too. We talked about it, and he asked me, "Do I want to live in Florida?" I said, "No, I'm doing all right in Wisconsin." Mm-hmm. That summer, he just dropped me off, and he left. He didn't say nothing. I didn't hear from him for a long time after that. It was more towards my aunt. I felt like she didn't want to bear another child again, you know what I'm saying? Could go through all that again, which is respectable now I think about it, you know. Because she raised 3 boys of her own. So I could understand that. Yeah, he was very strict. Yeah, I mean, I don't blame him now, you know, because he knew my past and he knew what road I was heading down. He knew I was at that critical stage where I don't know what I want to do right now. So.
Makia, whom he had casually dated, and his best friend and football teammate Connor had enjoyed much more stable upbringings with 2 supportive parents in their homes. By the time Charles landed at University Christian with Makia and Connor, he appeared to be doing better. But little did Makia Coney know, her classmates had dark interests and no regard for human life. The pair fantasized about being in the military and having the opportunity to be expected to carry a weapon at all times. Although on the contrary, Charles said in that interview that his great-uncle was too strict. He kept him fairly restrained, and Charles felt like he was on lockdown 24/7.
Because, you know, ever since the age of 11, I was used to doing whatever I wanted. I had my grandma in my life, you know, she would get on me, but that's that grandma love. She wasn't trying to control me or nothing. She wanted for me to be happy, and she would do whatever it took to see that smile on my face, and that's what it was. She was older. She was just that old too, where she couldn't really discipline me like that. I was out of control. Compared to that, yeah, I was on lockdown, basically. That's how I felt.
That doesn't bode too well in terms of future success in the military. One of the aspects of this case that makes it bewildering is that, by their own admissions, Charles and Connor both lived in loving and supportive homes.
Yeah, what I had was wonderful. I had everything. College was paid for already. I had a truck paid for, a motorcycle. I had everything. At the time, I couldn't see it, and I didn't care to see it. All I wanted to do was have a good time. That's all I wanted.
In hindsight, their lives were perfect, but then they found them boring and unsatisfying. They needed to find ways to make them more interesting, illegal, dangerous ways. Selling drugs and planning robberies took up what free time was left over when sports and homework were done for the day. Their friend Daniel had a garage that had been converted to a gym where friends came in to work out together. At their first opportunity, Charles and Connor broke both lockboxes and stole both of the guns and the bullets. Now armed and sliding deeper into their fantasy, the boys determined that they needed practice to get the robberies done right. Several days passed as the teens tried to determine who their victim would be, and on the day they had decided to carry out a murder, they crossed paths with their friend Makia. At first, they had thought about choosing a victim indiscriminately, but on Wednesday, February 10th, 2010, they talked about the murder after fifth period and chose Makia Coney. She was convinced to ditch the after-school program to hang out and smoke cigars, the little ones like Swisher Sweets. University Christian School security camera footage captured 16-year-old Connor Pridgen walking with Makia at 3:15 p.m., the last footage of her alive, and the first step in their plot. The friends hop into their pal Charles' truck, and after joyriding around the south side of Jacksonville for a bit, they end up near a popular hangout spot, Baker Skinner Park. Makia was oblivious that a plan was in place to kill her for sport. They caught her completely unaware. Charles shot first, his bullet entering Makia's left cheek and exiting her right one. Connor went next, not just shooting her in the face, but actually putting the gun against Makia's bottom lip before rendering her unrecognizable. The boys were back at school 10 minutes later and were seen on surveillance cameras at 4:22 p.m., smiling and walking side by side down a school hallway. They were not at all acting like they had just ended the life of a friend. After arriving to pick the girls up from the after-school program and being unable to find one of them, Makia's parents report her missing at 5:51 p.m. Little do they know, in 19 minutes, a bicyclist riding near Baker Skinner Park will see a small female body lying under